to another episode of OA News Overtime. I'm Jordan Hill. With us, as always, is Justin Lee.
We're back, baby.
We're
back. We're doing it again.
Another in-person episode. Justin, how's the week going for you?
A fully vaccinated edition of Opelika-Auburn News Overtime.
Absolutely.
We're good.
So what you been up to this week? How's it been?
You know, things and stuff. What do we got? We got 8A. 8A happened.
That's the biggest thing is that football's done, at least.
Yeah, that's great. I've been sleeping.
That's cause for celebration. We've got that and plenty more. But let's start with that. A-Day was on Saturday. Got a chance to kind of see everybody in action with the spring game and 17-3 Auburn game. A lot to kind of take away and a glimpse at sort of what the first team offense, first team defense sort of looked like. Justin, you were there.
Yeah, man.
What were your biggest observations, your biggest takeaways from what you were able to see in the game?
Buy stock in Elijah Canyon. To the moon, baby. He's going. That was about it. Because like I said before, I wanted to see the receivers, so I was watching them. But yeah, I mean, Elijah, if you count his bowl game and A-Day, that's a heck of a 2021 he's got going on. So yeah, yeah, pretty big for Elijah. I mean, that's about it. You know, you can only see so much. But yeah, I mean, we got a few little looks at some different things. They ran a little trick play by the goal line. That was fun, but mostly just basic stuff. We didn't as expected. Didn't see too much, but I don't know. No injuries, which is the biggest thing. So yeah, I don't know.
So you're not willing to say this is the year?
This is
it's the year that we're not going.
No, we're not going there.
We're not gonna buy into that meme. Before I get into sort of my takeaways, and I said this on Twitter. But shout out to the crazy people that upload spring games the day after on YouTube. I mean, I was like, I'm going to just check.
Right.
I mean, within 8 hours that they had the entire A-Day. I mean, those people they are the real MVPs.
Collegiate licensing is coming for them.
Yeah, they have them on the radar. So I was able to watch it after the fact. Elijah, I think that was a big person to kind of take away because
he had 6 catches.
6 catches, and the next leading receiver had 2.
There you go.
So obviously he was a big part of it.
Pretty
Bo
nice.
Nix, I thought, looked solid, 12 of 20. I thought solid was the optimal word. That's what Brian Harston said in the post game, so that made sense. Thought there was a lot to like from what Tank Bigsby, and really, to me, Sean Chivers maybe even more so, because we know what Tank's able to do, and even with the change in the offense, I think we could kind of envision that it was going to be fairly seamless. I'm sure there was some concepts and things he would have to adjust to.
Sure.
But I like the way Sean ran. I think he had 61 rushing yards, something like 12 carries. I think that he may benefit as little as he is. He's just so powerful that if they kind of stick with Mike Bobo's, pound it up the middle and really push those defenses, I think Sean's got a chance to be a really good number 2.
Right, and like you said, Tank got his touchdown. So yeah, like 42 yards. So yeah, I mean he did what he had to do. So yeah, I don't know. Interesting.
I think so. I mean, the biggest thing, it's so hard to take a lot away from a spring game because you got guys cycling in and out on the field. They're trying different combinations. There was some young guys that I was impressed with, but in limited, capacity. Kamal Haddon forced a fumble on a Tank pass. That was pretty nice. And I think he had a couple tackles besides that. Lee Hunter, a defensive tackle that's been getting a lot of praise in the preseason. He's a true freshman, but he got a tackle for a loss on Tank that caused a change of possession. So, I mean, you kind of look for those little things, and I want to give a shout-out to Trey Elston, Auburn High.
Baby Tigers, baby.
Walk-on wound up being the defensive MVP, had 6 tackles. So, I mean, you at least know you got a little bit of depth back there in the defensive backfield, which we kind of had a feel for before. But when you look at this scrimmage, you want to see those young guys stand up and stand out, and I thought there were several guys that did that.
What if J.J. Pegues tackled Devin Barrett, and they said, "Whoa, we were just doing this the other way"?
Wow. This is like
funny seeing you here.
Yeah, it's like Face Off. They got Travolta, and they're just gonna switch them out. Nick Cage.
That would have been amazing.
And also, we probably just kind of dated ourselves. That was when we were young.
We're old. Intern Thomas doesn't know anything about this stuff.
Face Off. Look it up. You could probably find it on Netflix, something like that.
Somewhere.
Anything else on A-Day? That kind of closed the book on spring, or any thoughts just on the spring overall, the things you've taken from what we've learned through Brian Harson's first spring on board here at Auburn?
Thomas, Netflix used to come in the mail. They would mail you discs.
How young do you think I am?
Anyway.
back on topic. 8A and
Yeah.
spring in general, just what you take away.
It's a new day. It's a new era. It's kind of interesting to see, it's, everything that's different, like running under center. That's crazy.
What a concept.
Right. But yeah, no, I mean, I don't know, spring takeaways. You got 15 of them. You put in the paper.
Check it out. It's like 2,000 words. It was something.
In the Wednesday edition, there's a lot of them. But yeah, I mean, you see who. I just keep going back to how limited the time is. When you have a new coach, you're trying to make a name for yourself if you're a player, right? And you only had so much time in the spring, and you're only gonna have so much time in the fall. So before that first game, it's gonna be kind of a time crunch on who can really impress, like especially when we're talking about receivers, defensive line, like those kind of positions. And the defensive backs gonna be fine, but the pecking order there, it's just, I don't know, maybe it's not really a takeaway because it's not anything new, but just kind of when a coaching change happens, you kind of think about the time and like how limited it's going to be. So fall camp's going to be pressure packed just like this was.
Absolutely. The biggest thing to me, I feel like this defense has a chance to be really special.
Sure.
I mean, because you look at all three levels, I think of at least one guy at all three levels. Colby Wooden, I think he's got a chance to really shine on this defensive line.
Right.
Owen Papo, I think we've already seen what he's able to do. And you can throw Zacoby right there. I mean, those two guys were two of the leading tacklers in the SEC. Then Roger McCreary. I think Roger's got a chance to really break out to the point that he's going to be an all-SEC guy and a guy that when we're talking about the draft this time next year, I mean, he may be somebody that a lot of guys are really looking at, a lot of teams. So I think this defense has got a chance to be really special. I think the offense has an opening to kind of get things figured out by the time we get to September 4th when they kick things off against Akron.
Akron, man. Penn State, that's going to happen.
I mean,
crazy.
They're hitting the ground running and excited to see it. So, Justin, let's switch gears from the
college, what is it called? Happy Valley, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, State College.
State College.
They
call it Happy, okay.
Happy Valley.
I don't know. I guess it's like because of COVID and stuff. You just kind of think like, that game's not gonna happen.
Yeah,
but I guess now, like, it's gonna happen.
It's sort of like the John Mulaney when he's talking about like his mortgage says like he's gonna pay this in like 2039. And you're like, that's not a real year.
that's Star Trek.
Yeah,
that's not real.
That's not real.
But
but we got it coming, and I'm excited to see.
Oh God, Jordan, your battery's running low.
It'll be fine.
Oh no.
All right, let's switch gears to basketball. And
Let's do it.
We get into the new transfer that Bruce Pearl has added. Let's look at a guy coming back that we weren't really sure what his status was going to be. Guard Alan Flanagan is going to be back for his junior year. There were questions he might decide to go to the NBA. There were a few mock drafts that had him sort of at the back end of the first round and was a legitimate, someone that a lot of people thought would have gotten drafted had he gone, but he's coming back. Justin, what are your thoughts on Allen deciding to come back for another year and what that means for next year's basketball team?
I was talking to somebody and they kind of asked, like, is it a surprise that he didn't enter the pool to figure out? And I this is not me knowing anything. I assume just because his dad's a coach, they're pretty well on the pulse, and he had a good idea. But yeah, we thought we were like, okay, Sharif, JT, and then probably Allen would test the waters. So Sharif's gone, Allen's coming back. You're two out of two, or what? 1 for 3 so far, and then JT Thor's still in there. We'll see what his decision is. But yeah, no, I mean, it's huge for Auburn. That's a glue guy, obviously, on top of being a great player. He could be an all-SEC type player this year. I just remember when he was a freshman, because he played with Isaac, right? And we'd get out there, and he just looked like I don't know, like Isaac, but like baby Bambi, like he didn't know his body yet. Cause it's like a kid in Isaac Okoro's body, and now he's learning it, and he's, Isaac was a little bit ahead of him in a few ways, but now he's there, and he's getting stronger, and he's getting, so one more year in the weight room, and I don't even know what he's going to look like next year, but he's going to be a great player. He's a great player this year, one of the most underrated, underappreciated players any sport at Auburn this year. So I mean, it's big news for Auburn to celebrate.
Oh, for sure. I mean, when you look at it, in my mind, when you consider over the entire season, I think that Allen was the most consistent.
Yes.
I mean, he was there. He made big plays. He think it was South Carolina that he dropped like 24. I mean, he had production throughout the year, and when you look at, I think not only from the fact that he was so productive and you can count on him next year, but we're going to hit on this in a second, but this roster is completely different than what it was this past year. And this is a guy that can kind of merge the people coming back. And
it's gone. It's dead.
It's fine.
Close it.
It's good. The people coming back toward the new roster, too. I mean, he is going to be a guy that Bruce knows what he can expect from him, and Allen understands what Bruce is expecting out of him.
Right.
So I think that's huge. I think that we knew there was a pretty good chance Sharif was not going to be coming back, and I think when you look at the rest of the board, that Allen would be the biggest guy. That if you said we can only have one guy come back, I think you go with Allen.
Hey, that's good. That's a good point. If you looked at those three, JT, obviously everybody loves JT, but. Yeah. JT and Allen and Sharif, like who's the most important piece? Who could come back? Who could be a real glue guy?
I feel like it's Allen. I mean, and Sharif was productive. That's not to take away anything Sharif did, but I think just with.
I mean, I'd probably pick Sharif.
But I think
I'm with you. I understand.
Yeah, and I think we understood too that there was a pretty good chance that Sharif was gonna go. So I mean, I think that's huge. So let's look.
This roster is full, Jordan.
This roster is
okay. So I saw someone going in the transfer portal today from like Indiana or someplace, I don't know. And then Auburn fans are on Twitter like, "Oh, keep an eye out." And I'm like, "Come on, guys, you're not gonna get every single player because if we want to just break down this roster and how full it is right now. So Auburn right now, unless I'm wrong, has 13 people with Thor coming back. You get 13 scholarships. So if Thor stays, they're full. They're ready. They're set. If
no vacancy.
Right. If Thor leaves, they have a spot to add, but there's really not any room for playing time right now, the way I look at it. Because so what are we looking at? You're looking at Wendell, the mini Sharif
from Eastern Kentucky.
From Eastern Kentucky, right? You got the Charles of Collegeton. The other one, strike that, reverse it. That's a Willy Wonka reference. Zep Jasper from College of Charleston. And then you have Trey Alexander, shooting guard, and then Desi.
Desi Sills, who just signed or who just committed from Arkansas.
So there's your backcourt, and if we skip, like I like to do it, skip to down low, you've got Dylan and Stretch, Walker Kessler, and then
Jabari.
Yeah, Jabari. And
who we gotta say, Jabari is the highest rated prospect that's ever signed with Auburn.
Right.
Oh, by the way,
these are not ranked by by order of importance at all. And then in the middle, you already have Jalen Williams, possibly JT Thor, but you have Chris Moore and then Allen. So like, I mean, you've got. I don't know how they're gonna play it from here, and we only know maybe they are targeting somebody, and they'll tell somebody like Wendell, like, hey, you're gonna sit on the bench for this kid, but if I don't think anyone really knows, exactly. People can only glean what players say and what information the players get, because coaches have no reason to tell anybody anything. So, and they won't. So, yeah. I mean, you're looking at a pretty stacked roster already. I think we're coming toward, the final roster for next season. And maybe you add a piece to replace JT Thor. I don't know. Here's the thing though, because you don't want to bring in a freshman really, because you're signing McDonald's All-Americans.
Yeah. And
you kind of want people to turn over.
Yeah.
You don't want somebody to hold a spot for 4 years, but you don't want to bring in a grad transfer who doesn't want to come here because he's not going to play.
No.
So.
And that's kind of why I was a little surprised with Desi, just because we've seen these pickups. But he was a productive guy. He averaged 7.5 for Arkansas this last year, and I thought it was really funny when you go back to last year's SEC opener. Bruce Pearl was singing his praises. And he was like, he was the best guy on the floor tonight. I really like him, that kind of quote. And it was one of those deals where it's like, well, we couldn't beat him, so let's bring him in and see if he can help us.
Dude, he had the red streak in his hair. I really hope he does the orange streak. That'd be tight.
That'd be great.
We'll see.
That'd be great. And that's the thing, too. I started to sort of bring up the ultimate, your lineup you would want to see, and I can't get it figured out, but I mean, that's a good problem for Bruce Pearl and those guys to have, but I'm like, you got to get Jabari Smith on the court.
Let's not even. I don't even want to project a starting five right now, because it's chaos right now.
It's chaos, but I think it's a good kind of problem.
It's a great problem to have for them.
And I think that there's plenty of reason to be optimistic if you're an Auburn fan and looking at next year and what this team, those early games might be kind of rough as they sort of fill out, the lineup and who fits best where and how these guys play together.
Sure.
Because this is going to be a totally different looking lineup, like we said, from last year. But I think there's reason for a lot of optimism.
It's better on paper, Jordan. It's a better team on paper.
And there is no doubt.
How crazy is it? You're losing Sharif and it's a better team.
I agree. I think if they can get Wendell Green or whoever winds up running the point, as long as they can be productive, I think they're in great shape.
Yep, I agree.
So let's switch gears to Auburn golf. We'll start with the women's golf team.
We don't have a golf prop.
Don't have a golf prop. We'll put a little Photoshop a golf ball between us or something. But women's golf team wound up winning the SEC, and I know the men are
Thomas is going to love Photoshopping that.
Absolutely. And the men's golf team is competing for it as well. Justin, what are your thoughts on the women's team being able to pull that off and what that could mean for the rest of their spring?
I rolled up there to Tumor's Corner on a Sunday. It was my day off, so if you saw me there in a Transformer shirt and flip-flops, just don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Just leave me alone. But no, Tumor's Corner celebration, that was a lot of fun. It was kind of, I don't know, good to see a public gathering again.
Not worry about it.
Yeah, not worry about it because all the athletes were fully vaccinated, and hopefully most of the people were too. So, but yeah, it was wild. We had a lot of celebrity appearances. Brian Harsin was there. He kind of, those brick columns at Tumor's Corner, like where the Eagles are. There were. I don't know if those Eagles are still there.
I know what you're talking about.
But anyway, the entrance, and Brian was just kind of hiding. He was just kind of leaning on one, and then he popped out and took a picture with the team, and then it's but he would talk to anybody who was approaching him, but he didn't want it to be about him. He wasn't there to get the center.
Hey, look at me.
Yeah, exactly. So Brian was there, Johnny Harris, new coach, was there, Greg McWilliams was there, Ralph Spry was there, Cornelius Williams was there, and then I saw a picture of Mickey Dean there. I didn't see him at the time. He had his gaiter on, he was completely hidden, so that must be why I missed him. But yeah, so kind of cool to just see people hanging out again. That was fun. So and they won match play in a big way there, and maybe they'll host a regional. That'd be fun if they could bring it on down here to Saugatchee or someplace. That'd be fun. But yeah, so women's team doing great, and then men's team playing in Georgia, St. Simon's Island.
I believe so.
Yeah. That's where, if that's what it's called.
Yeah.
Okay.
As a resident Georgia.
As a Georgia person?
St. Simon's, it's off the coast.
Okay, yeah. Well, that's where they're playing. Yeah. So, that's where the men are playing this weekend. So, we'll see how far they can get. You play stroke play. Top 8 teams advance to match play. So, there you go.
Fingers crossed on that regional because we covered one a few years ago. That was a blast getting to see those top golfers, from Vanderbilt. I'm trying to remember who else was here. Maybe Northwestern as well. And, you go out there and watch them, man, I would shoot that many on 2 holes in there, coming in at 8 under par.
I remember Furman was there because I saw an old guy with an FU hat.
Yeah, of course. That's the lasting memory for Justin.
He was wearing it unironically. I was like, all right.
I remember when we were in high school that some of the football players went to a camp at Furman, and there was a big to-do about whether or not they could wear the shirt from said camp.
That's amazing.
A little touchy subject for 10th and 11th graders. Going back to the Diamond, kind of mixed results. We can start with softball, since that's the ball you picked up first.
Okay, perfect. Let's go.
The Auburn softball team wins 2 of 3 against number 12 Kentucky.
Yeah.
Pretty big deal, and what are your thoughts? I think they got Ole Miss coming up here shortly, if I'm remembering. Am I remembering correctly?
Yes.
What are your thoughts on where they are and the fact they were able to beat a really good Kentucky team?
Our laptop is dead. We can't look it up. No, it is Ole Miss. They're playing them next. They might have a midweek. I don't know. I watched Mickey Dean's availability. I wasn't able to. We had a meeting. I couldn't jump on it, but I watched it back, and it was funny. He was asked, how are you feeling after winning 2 series these past 2 weeks? And he's like, well, better than 3 weeks ago. I'm like, there you go. He spoke, and then Tyler King, a player, spoke, and she said something that was kind of interesting. You're going to be like, Justin, you idiot. It seems very elementary. But she was like, the thing about SEC play is that they play the series, and then early in the week, the next week, they have review, and they pick up their mistakes. And she thinks that, you have to go out, make the mistakes, and then learn from it. And like obviously that's the most obvious thing in the world, but when you hear it, it kind of strikes a light bulb off that they weren't winning. They couldn't learn as much from non-conference play, and now that they're in conference, they figure they can get better because they're making more mistakes, making new mistakes, which is a Brian Harsin.
Yes,
I like that. I like that's some good coach speak right there. But yeah, that's their thing. That's what they're thinking. Is that, hey, we're making mistakes and now we can go back. And she thinks that review and correction is helping them and has helped them win these last 2 series compared to earlier in SEC play. So yeah, there you go. And they're playing Ole Miss. He likes their pitching. He likes everything about them. He thinks they're gonna be a tough challenge. So we'll see how they go. Maybe they can take 3 straight.
That would be big. It's all about winning those series and trying to string those together as you kind of get ready for that tournament. Switching over to the AU baseball team, a little bit rougher.
Sure.
Sort of the hits keep coming. For the baseball team, lost the series to Alabama, and another series that was very winnable.
Right.
They wound up winning only 1 of 3 games down there, over there in Tuscaloosa. It's sort of getting to the point where the rubber's going to hit the road here before too long.
I think this is the halfway point. I think in the SEC schedule, it's close to it. But they play Florida this week. They play Jacksonville State tonight, Wednesday night as we record this. They play Florida at home starting Friday. I think this is the halfway point. If not, it's near it. Of the SEC schedule. So, like you said, rubber's hitting the road. What does that mean?
I mean, it's just coming down to crunch time. You don't have a whole lot of room for error anymore. And you look at their schedule.
But, were you on a dirt road and then you hit asphalt? What does that mean?
I never really broke that down. That can be for the next podcast. That can be what we sit in the next conversation on. The problem for Auburn with the way this is set up is they've got plenty of good teams ahead.
Right.
I mean,
it's not like it was because it's not Arkansas, Ole Miss, and Mississippi State.
True. But you do play.
Then it's like, we're playing Florida.
Yeah. Florida's solid. Georgia, Georgia rocked Kumar Rocker a couple of weekends ago. So,
I like that alliteration.
Yeah, I definitely planned that before the words left my mouth. I know it's something we say all the time, but there just aren't pushovers in the SEC.
No.
You can't really look at what's left and say, well, we can definitely win this series.
Right.
Because that hasn't been the case so far. And you look at the fact they've struggled in those 1-run games and they've been right there.
Right.
There's no excuse. There's
like,
no excuse at this point. You got to find a way to win. And at this point, you're kind of just trying to figure out a way to make it to the SEC tournament. Because there's 14 teams and only 12 go to the tournament.
Yeah.
Auburn's sitting in last right now. They got to find a way to string some wins together if they want to try to keep this season rolling.
I will say that I cannot think of a more snake-bitten team.
And that's the thing. They are a solid team, but, it's just
8 1-run losses in SEC play, I think.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And you just flip a few of those, and you kind of see momentum.
Sure.
Butch has talked about, you want to try, after they beat Georgia Tech, it was like, let's try to get some momentum out of this and string some wins together. Nobody's expecting them to sweep series, because that's asking a lot.
Right.
But you have got to find a way to win 2 or 3 more often than not, and it's just not been the case.
That's all they have to do down the schedule. And we're like, they don't have to play Mississippi State, Ole Miss, or Arkansas. But it's like, it's Florida, the school that just its recruiting pitch is, it's Florida. Come on, they got some dudes.
No doubt.
They got dudes in every sport. Come on.
And I do want to throw in too, I don't know if you saw this over the weekend, but I watched a little of Ole Miss, Mississippi State baseball. This is regular season baseball.
Yeah.
I am not kidding. That was the most intense series I've seen in a while. It was so much fun. And, got Nick Suss, a buddy that covers Ole Miss, so was kind of following along. But that to me was like, man, SEC baseball, if you really, especially now that the stands are full again and we're able to go out there, oh my gosh, it was so much fun to watch.
Yeah, dude, those Mississippi schools, they do it right. It's kind of like, Alabama might be dead last at everything, education and poverty, but you can't tell them anything about college football. Mississippi, they got college baseball. That's their answer. So, yeah.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, we're getting close to wrapping up, Justin. What are some of the things you're working on this week, or things you're kind of keeping an eye on as we go in to the weekend and the days coming up?
We've got some high school track wrapping up. Lee Scott won the state championship in AISA, went down to Gulf Shores. There you go. That's on the website. And mostly recovering from football. And baseball and softball with big series this week. I don't know. It never ends, man. It never ends.
Yeah, but that's a good thing. For me, now that football's wrapped up, I've started a run of just looking at all the positions. We've hit quarterback, running back will be in Thursday's paper. So it'll be something nice to see. I should say, actually, running back will be in Friday's paper, and quarterback will be Thursday. But we got that. We got high school baseball. We got our Central and Auburn High and
huge series
fighting to make the playoffs. So we got that. Gonna have a story this weekend on Joe Beckwith that played at Auburn High that won 2 World Series, and they're honoring him. He's dealing with some health issues, so they're gonna honor him at Auburn High's baseball game.
Jordan, you want to talk about a local legend?
That's
a local legend.
That
brother.
is 2 World Series in the NL and the AL. So
okay,
that's pretty
I
impressive.
wonder how many people can claim that.
I wouldn't think very many. There's probably a
Couple hundred
few, but yeah, a lot of good stories and a lot of fun coming up. And again, stays busy, but we're at our best when we're busy.
Yes, sir. This is the Briar Patch.
This is always the stories we like to tell, and I'll throw in there too. Shout out Auburn High girls tennis won the state championships. We'll have a story in Thursday's paper about that.
Boom.
Before we get out of here, Justin, gotta ask.
Let's go.
MLB The Show 21 just came out, so that's the
Outstanding.
game I've been playing pretty much nonstop.
Are you a loot boxes guy, or are you like a franchise guy? What is it, Diamond Dynasty? Is that what it is?
I'm more of a franchise.
You like a franchise?
Like
okay.
I want to get in there with the Braves and
respect that.
and try to get 40-40 with Acuna and try to go off.
Right.
Favorite sports video game of all time and why?
NHL Hits 2003. Let me tell you, Jordan, this is the perfect video game. If you've never played NHL Hits 2003, it's a lot of fun. It's, NFL Blitz, but it's hockey. It's the only hockey I know. I don't know any hockey at all. Why would I? I'm from Alabama. I don't know anything. I went to a Birmingham Bulls game one time. But I love NHL Hits 2003. It's 3-on-3. So kind of like the overtime they do now. But it's like 3-on-3. You have fire. The only hockey players I can name are like Wayne Gretzky, and then the lineup of the 2003 San Jose Sharks, Vincent Damphousse, Teemu Solani, and Owen Nolan. So there you go. And Nabokov in goal, and I don't know his first name because it doesn't say that. It's like the goalie's at the bottom, so it doesn't say their first name. So yeah, there you go, man. I love NHL 2003. It's a really fun game. It's kind of like a paper, rock, scissors thing going on because you can hit and spin or do anything. Anyway, it's fun. A lot of fun.
They're fun. I've played a few of those because that was the same company that made Slugfest and NFL Blitz, like you said.
Yes.
So those hockey
Obviously,
games.
Blitz 2000 was great. NFL Blitz 2000. Obviously, like NCAA, was great, but that's mine, man. NHL Hits 2003.
You're kind of stepping on what my answer was going to be. NCAA football. I went to 2004, 2004 with Carson Palmer.
Carson Palmer on the cover.
Because that was the very first one I played, and I just remember, was already becoming a big college football fan at 9, 10 years old, and getting to play that and getting to see all the different teams and sort of understanding how I really credit those NCAA football games with sort of teaching me the whole, world of college football and what all that entails, and that it's, contrary to popular belief, it's more than just SEC.
Yeah, right.
There are teams outside the SEC, but
it used to have FCS teams back then.
Oh yeah, we play with Georgia Southern and all those teams, and that would be my answer. Would be NCAA football 2004.
What about 06 for the soundtrack?
We did a podcast episode for anyone who doesn't know. I got a college football podcast.
Ready Player Run.
Ready Player Run.
Let's go.
And Nick Suss and I just did a whole episode talking about that playlist.
That playlist?
2006.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, it was sick. And it was something that they have not done since.
Right.
But it was incredible when they did it.
Train in Vain. What else was on there?
I know De La Soul was on there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember who else.
The Clash was on there.
The Clash was on there.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, you just can't beat it. Well, on that note, let's
right.
wrap it up again.
You did not predict NHL Hits 2003 to be my favorite video game.
There's no way. Anyone who says they did is a liar.
It's my favorite game. We would play it on PlayStation 2 because we just like bought it at GameStop for $4 one day, right after high school, and then we would play it. And then I've worn out the PlayStation 2 version, and now I have the Xbox version because you can play it on 360, so you can play it in like HDMI.
Yeah.
Like, I love that game. I will play it to this day. I love it.
It's too good, too good. Well, I think we're going to get out of here. Maybe go play these games once we get off work. Again, for Justin Lee, I'm Jordan Hill. Thanks for tuning in, and until next week.